Good morning, Andy. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Did you not fancy going to NAM this year? That was my first question for you.
Oh man, tell me about it. I really wanted to, but the dates, if it had been in January, would have loved to go. So I'm very jealous. I've already just started seeing the some people arriving and popping up on Instagram. But yeah, the date just didn't work. I'm currently in Barcelona and we had family stuff over here and yeah, other commitments, which just made going out to California for like a week a little bit ridiculous. But we love going and we'll definitely go. If we can go next year, we will. Sure.
Yeah, it's probably best, like me, just to sort of, delete your social media for a little bit now until NAM's finished. Just
Well, I'm also like, actually, I can just repost a load of stuff from last time, our photos I didn't share, and
good
probably get a
idea.
load of likes.
Good idea. Yeah, yeah, very cool. What are you up to in Barcelona? Then? It's a family sort of thing, is it?
Yeah, so my partner's family, her mum lives out here, so we're staying with her for a bit. Yeah, it's just we'll try and get here like 3 times a year just to see family and just because we love the place.
Nice. And have you got a guitar with you there?
I do. It's the so I have brought a Journey collapsible guitar quite a few
Okay.
times with me this time.
Yeah.
But we went hand luggage only just in case there was any bother with checking in luggage over Easter because we've had that before. There was one thing we were in at Gatwick Airport and we couldn't check in the luggage and the plane literally left, so we had to get a plane 2 days later.
Oh
It
no.
was ridiculous. So we were just like not having any of that. So we got a guitar here for me to be able to play at a family occasion. About 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, and it's still here. So I brought new strings for it. But that's one that I did. I did a live stream last night, for example, to members of my website, and that's the one I used. And it's like a £60 stag guitar.
Doesn't matter, mate. It's all about the player, isn't it? I think it doesn't really matter.
Look, it's yeah, and you end up knowing what you can play on it and what you would stay away from. So anything where you're playing like higher up the neck on that guitar, if there isn't a capo on it, is pretty terrible.
Hmm.
But if you stick to more the first part of the neck, or even better, put a capo on it, then you're fine basically. And I often recommend that to beginners. I'm like, if your guitar's badly set up,
Yeah.
sticking a capo on it does instantly make it easier to play. It's instantly better set up. You'll need to
Yes.
retune it once you put the capo on,
Yep.
but it does make it easier to play. And people go, well, isn't that putting the cart before the horse? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not expecting a beginner to be able to set up their acoustic guitar or electric guitar well
Yes.
themselves. And I'm not expecting them to pay £60 if they take it to a guitar shop for someone else to do it, because the guitar's probably, worth £60. So it seems a bit mad. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
put a cap on it.
it's great advice. That's really good advice. How long are you planning on staying in Barcelona then? Is it for a little while or a couple of weeks or?
We'll be back on Thursday, so we're back imminently, but yeah, it won't be too long till we're back. And but yeah, plenty of filming to do when I get back, and yeah, look forward to getting cracking on a few. Nothing particularly new. It's just but I have managed to do a bit of planning, so I'm well ahead with what I've got to film, and just need to do the fun bit of filming them now.
Fantastic. Well, look, Andy, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the beginning, if that's okay with you, how you got into all of this, and just briefly, if you don't mind, could you just explain to people watching? Most of the people watching will be guitarists, so if they've searched online for any guitar lessons, they would have come across you on YouTube. I'm guaranteed it for learning any songs or any sort of theory techniques and things like that. They would have come across you. But for anyone who's maybe watching this who's like, oh, I don't know who this chap is. Maybe I'm not into guitar. Could you just explain what you do, Andy? What is it you do on the sort of on YouTube and things?
I go by the name of Andy Guitar on YouTube. The
Yep.
claim to very tiny amounts of fame is that I have pretty much, as far as I can work out, it'll change one day, but I have the most watched guitar lesson video on YouTube,
Wow.
which currently has something like 28 million views. I
That's
made
crazy.
that video on a £20 webcam at the start of 2013, and it basically changed my life
That's
because
crazy.
it just gave me an opportunity to be able to do this more as a full-time job as a content creator, I guess. But I was already a full-time guitar teacher back in, well, at least that was the majority of what I did as a job, as well as playing. So teaching one-to-one from home.
Hmm.
Had a website much like yours, really, where you advertising that you do one-to-one and group lessons, some on
Yep.
Skype, things like that. Um, even the one-to-one lessons though came about through videos I posted on YouTube. And in the video that is my most watched video, even in that, at the start of it, it's a beginner guitar lesson, but I even say, here's what to expect before your first lesson with me, because I didn't expect it to go further than Leeds. I actually tagged the videos as like Leeds guitar teacher, and that's what I wanted to come up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, studied music at university, far more music technology led is sort of my background before teaching. But guitar was always just the coolest and best instrument, and always the one I wanted to do. Like, that was where the joy was, that was where the fun was. But like a lot of people really struggled, so actually found a good way to learn music and help with all that through technology and sequencers and recording and stuff like that. And yes, but now I somehow find myself in kind of full-time content creator land, which was not a job when I first started doing this 10 or 12 years ago. And now it's like what most people in school want to be, right? It's they want to be gamers or content or YouTubers or TikTokers. It's very accepted nowadays, and I guess when I first started it wasn't. So I think that's part of the reason I got views at all, because I was not maybe not the typical type of person that was that people were seeing.
Yeah, I think people didn't really understand it. It's a bit more sort of understood nowadays, like content creators. But if you said to someone, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, like, I'm a content creator, they would probably be like, what's that? What do you do? You know, it's nowadays I think people understand a bit more about YouTube and how that all works and things. But so do you still do sort of do you do any more private lessons at all? That's just a question for me. Do you do any more of that now or not?
So since I moved to Brighton 5 years ago from Leeds, and I was in Leeds 10 years after university, basically.
Okay.
And since that was where I drew a line in the sand and went, I'm not going to have people come into the house anymore, at least.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that line. I wanted to put that behind me. But I still do in-person group workshops through a company called Guitar Breaks. And I'm looking at how I can do more in-person stuff, because all that's multi-day. So it's like a 2 to 5, even 5 day event. Like, we've got a 5-day event in Italy coming up in October, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Very nice.
But it's a huge kind of commitment for everyone, myself and the people that are coming. So I'm exploring how else we can do it. But do I teach one-to-one at all? No. In fact, the whole game plan is like, how can I scale what I used to offer in one-to-one? Because that's what I feel, those are the people that are looking for that kind of one-to-one connection are the people that connect with my videos. Like, I'm actually trying to teach people in my YouTube videos, and I'm hoping that they will have a guitar in their hand, as that's how you'd benefit the most from watching my stuff. And for other people who do the same job as me, and even in the same industry, you're actually expected just to watch it as entertainment. You're not really expected to be learning alongside, and the learning's just on the website, whereas I try and connect the two.
Yeah, I mean, from watching your videos myself, I've got, obviously, your videos have come up and I've watched them, and that's the thing you get from it. It is very much like, if you just sort of get engrossed in the lesson and sort of switch off and forget the fact that you're actually looking at a laptop or a phone screen, you do feel like you're in the room with you. You walked in for a private lesson and you're having your sort of lesson, which is really good, and a really good way to sell it, I think.
Yeah, indeed. And it gives the opportunity that anyone can learn on their own time, which is like essential these days. And it also means I'm not, just teaching, because that first, my biggest videos are some version of the first lesson that I would give any absolute beginner in person.
Yes.
So I've done that lesson so many times that I was quite relieved when I filmed a couple of different versions of it.
Yes.
That I'm like, okay, I don't have to do that exact same video, in person again and again. Because that's the thing. It's great teaching people one-to-one, but there's a repetitive nature of it where I'm like, okay, this is going to work for you. And it kind of, see, I like to tie things together. It kind of gets like when you're in a really good band and you're doing a lot of gigs, and there are certain songs you play, whether it's original or covers, that will just connect with the crowd.
Yeah.
And the joy doesn't become playing the song as much as it comes watching the reaction that you get.
Yeah.
And I found that the same with teaching, and I find it the same with which videos do well. I'm like, that connected like a song would connect with an audience.
Do you go back over your content and refine some of it as well? Like, because I do that with mine. I go through it and go, okay, when I was teaching that, that didn't work so well. This worked better, and you come up with new ideas of delivering things. I'd imagine. Do you go back over some of it and sort of redo it, or?
I'm actually, one example is I'm refilming some tutorials now of kind of popular videos, but ones where I'm like, there's more potential in that one.
Yeah.
But part of it is because of, yes, video quality has improved. I use 4K cameras and stuff like that. Partly in delivery and how I do the lesson, yeah. But also we add more things. Like I have an editor now who helps me do on-screen chords, and we can offer a little bit of that guitarioke on certain songs. I'm quite I don't offer it on everyone because it is laborious to do.
Yes.
It takes a lot of time, but we can offer a bit of that thing that people get from the apps these days, where you can sort of follow live chords on, now the chord that you should be playing now and the chord that's coming up next.
Yes.
And I feel that when you want people to join in, that's the best way to offer it, as opposed to trying to get people to follow a chord sheet, which is somewhere else, either on another screen or in a book, which might not line up to what I would want them to do, because it's quite hard to offer tabs. It's actually really hard to offer any kind of chord sheet or tabs online at all, even for free.
Yeah, is it copyright thing, isn't it? Sort of
100%, yeah. And we can, so we get around that by linking to like Ultimate Guitar and Songster. Songster's fantastic. So it offers like, you can press play on the tab and hear it. So it does bring it to life. But often it doesn't match what I would have people do in the video. And it's things that I'd encourage people. What I'm trying to do is get people to learn the songs that, teach a person to fish rather than give a person a fish.
Yeah.
But there's a bridge there between me. I remember getting a tab book, as I'm sure you do, the first time, and you're just like, well, the cover looks fun, but inside this may as well be written in German or something. I didn't understand it at all. So I'm trying to make the link all the time. And what we can do with on-screen graphics these days really offers that. So that's been a reason to refilm some stuff. Yeah. But also looking at what other, I'm always trying to get some kind of, I guess a gambit, I guess like a stronger reason to watch it rather than just teaching a song, because anyone can teach a song.
Yeah.
The actual reason to watch my stuff is because there'll be something else with it. Like you'll learn 3 songs in the time it would take you to learn 1, because they use the same chord progression. My first hit was like 10 songs with 2 chords, for example. Purposely made it like that to link my beginner lesson to other things that would, a gambit, like play 10 songs with 2 chords. It was actually just my beginner's lesson, but I then said, here, you can also play 10 chords. And that's where it caught fire. And that sort of thing, really.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the person watching that as well, if they just learn 3 chords song or whatever, 4 chord song, and then you say to them, oh, but now you can play this, 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 and this, and you're like, wow, yeah, amazing. I got 4 songs in my repertoire now, instead of just the one that I started out with. So
yeah, and there might be only one of those 4 songs that they even like at all, but that's the purpose of it. You don't have to play those 4 songs forever. It's just you choose one, because as a learner, you get very precious over the songs, and as a teacher, I really don't care what song you're playing. It does. Well, I'm using the song as a vehicle to teach you one step in what can be a very step-by-step process for beginners.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned there is interesting to talk to you about is you said you now got an editor on board with your sort of video and stuff, because that's the one thing with me why I haven't invested so much time into YouTube, is just because I really find that side of things, like editing video, I just really find it sort of boring. I can do it, I just really don't enjoy doing it. I don't know if you're the same, or if you just make yourself do it. But you said you got an editor recently, so that's interesting.
I've had an editor working in some regard for me since about 2016.
Oh, wow.
And that was when I started to make courses as well as keep up with YouTube. And I was editing a course. I mean, my beginner's course is like 60 videos. So that just took like 3 months of just editing. So I was like, okay, this is something I need help with, and this is something that I can train someone to do. Here's how I would like you to do it. Here's an example. Work off of that as a blueprint.
Yes.
And it's been the same ever since. However, we through the opportunity of like the pandemic and having more views over a short amount of time, then we hired an editor full time, who's now like an assistant. And that's enabled me to basically, the reason to edit someone full time was to keep up with shorts, to be honest,
Okay.
because they're since like 2020, it's releasing something which is short vertical content lasting less than a minute is like just it's both expected and there's opportunity with it. So why wouldn't you follow it?
Hmm.
But that's exhausting because you can easily release a short video a day,
Hmm.
and that's nowhere near too much if they're good.
Yeah.
And you also, I can't even myself, I can't tell what's going to get views anymore, to be honest with you. It's just there's some luck involved, there's some skill involved with knowing the platform, but it changed. What works changes all the time, so there's always a bit of varying it on purpose and just putting enough out so you're hoping it will connect. But doing that along with releasing YouTube videos that have a lot of on-screen stuff, it's like, okay, I need help now. And now I barely edit anything myself. It all just goes to editors because that's the only way I can keep churning out the content. Now, some of that is self-inflicted. Like I'm sure I wouldn't have to release shorts, for example. People like Paul Davids, for example, huge on YouTube, doesn't release a lot of reels and shorts and stuff.
Hmm.
But as I say, it's just while the opportunity is there, let's have a go. Because if nothing else, you learn.
Yeah.
And I'm very keen to keep on top of things like that.
I think there's like you just mentioned one of them. In my head, there's about sort of 5 people I think that's sort of the top of the tree when you think about YouTube lessons. And Paul Davids, yourself, Justin Guitar, Marty Swartz. I can't think of anyone else, but that's the ones that sort of spring immediately to my mind.
Certainly for guitar education,
Yeah.
and certainly keeping it anything like accessible. The fascinating thing has been the rise of people who are super high level. Because there's a way of it. I mean, it lined up perfectly. When I was doing one-to-one lessons, the people that were sat in front of me were just absolute beginner, from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And the only unifying factor between any of them was they all went, I want to learn how to play this thing, this guitar. Oh, this is a skill I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked out that would also do well on YouTube because, it's a low barrier to entry. Anyone can have a go and you can try and do it for free. But there's been a rise over the last like 4 years or so of Rick Beato, Adam Neely, Paul Davids to a certain degree as well, where it's like mega high level. It's like it'd be high level for degree stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I did part of a music degree, and this is high level for me.
Yes.
So, but it does seem to really unite music fans and music like guitar enthusiasts and music enthusiasts more from the player, like high level musicians. They just all unite around these people because it's like, wow, look at the information you're getting. But it is the antithesis of the way that I structure my videos, which is here's the absolute easiest thing that you can play on guitar that anyone can do, and that's my unifying factor.
Yeah, but that's like one of your unique selling points as well. But some of the Rick Beato videos I watch a lot of, and I just think they're amazing. The way he breaks down songs, the way he talks to artists, they're incredible. Like his knowledge is fantastic. Really,
I'll bring him up because I saw him live 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So he did a live gig in London, and I was like, and there was someone else I could go with as well. So I was like, all right, I'll go to it. And I'm just very keen. Actually, I'm very keen to support anything where both YouTubers and content creators are doing something in either the physical world, like in-person stuff, or anything from that crosses over to actual music industry. Like they release songs on Spotify or they have some artistic stuff. But I'm also keen. I think there should be way more people who are in the proper music industry and playing arenas and stuff crossing over to the content creator.
Yes.
And it's funny how there's still a huge stigma between both of those things.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is. Was that when you said live show? Was that him obviously playing, or was he talking about things, or how's that work?
So that was the main reason I wanted to go, to be honest. I'm like, okay, so he's going to do something similar to his YouTube channel, but how would you do that in person? How would you structure a set, a set list or anything? I was fascinated with that. And it basically, because what you need to realize about him is he was a university professor of music all throughout his 20s. And he only left it when he turned 30 because he was like, I could do this forever, and I just want to do more things than just be a college teacher in this one school forever.
Yeah.
Because some people do that's some
Yeah.
people do stay in the same job for many years, and there's nothing wrong with that. He just realized where he was and what he felt he could do. He wanted a wider range of experiences.
Yeah.
But that's basically what he did now. He's basically come full circle, and his live shows are like a university lecture. It was exactly like being back in a university hall and someone showing. One of the things he did was dissect I Am the Walrus with the multi-tracks.
Right.
So listening to different bits of it, I'm like, that's exactly that was the bit I enjoyed the most as well. It's exactly what he does on What Makes This Song Great, but he couldn't do I Am the Walrus because it would get a copyright strike on you. It'd get blacked. The blackers would come and get it, as he calls it.
Have you been caught up in that as well? I was going to ask you that question because I can imagine you spent hours doing a video and then you think this is going to drop really well, and then you drop it and you get like striked by whoever it may be saying that you know they own copyright to this material.
Yeah, it was actually worse in like 2017 because the one I have been blocked off of totally was Facebook.
Oh right.
And it was because of a beginner strum through. It wasn't even a lesson. I just basically strummed basic open chords to Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Right.
And that video got a copyright strike. And then the same guy went through my channel, found 3 others that he could give a strike to, and just blocked my personal Facebook. Now, the actual Andy Guitar Facebook page was still there.
Yeah.
So I've since made sure someone else has a login for it because we couldn't even let people know what had happened.
No.
And you know, after a couple of weeks of trying, I just had to. I made a YouTube video about it, like loads of other people. Like if Rick Beato gets copyright strike, first thing he's going to do is make a video about that, slag him off a bit, and it gets 1 million views somehow.
Yes.
But I did that, and what happened was that someone from Facebook watched it. They're a fan of the channel and they got me back on, but they said, be very careful with copyright stuff in the future, but you're back on now and you should be fine.
And does that affect your monetization things as well? Like if you're like on YouTube and things, if you get striked on it, that affects the monetization, or does it just get split? You do get a proportion of it, or
both. There's 3 options. It either, if I do a song tutorial, it either never gets flagged up at all, it gets flagged up, but the revenue is split. So it's already split between, for example, creator and YouTube.
Okay.
You know, if it gets flagged up by a record label, which is essentially what it is, they would take 1/3 of that, so you just get less, but still get something. Or the whole video just gets blocked altogether. There's even different levels to that where it will be blocked in some countries. I have 2 videos teaching Hotel California, which have like, one's got 1 million views and the other one's a different version, you know, a beginner version, and that's got like 500,000 views. Not viewable in America. Viewable in the rest of the world, and somehow has got 1 million views because it's just an epic song.
Yes.
But yeah, not viewable in America, and there's just nothing I can do about that. Even VPNs and stuff don't really work these days. Like you can get a VPN and they claim you can watch YouTube or claim you can watch Netflix in like other country, other region, so you can see what they've got that the UK might not have.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. It's not as easy as that.
Well,
but yeah,
are missing out then, aren't they?
They can be, because that's where they more often get blocked. The Eagles are really bad for it. So I guess you just you learn what to stay away from. The Eagles are really bad. I'll never make another Eagles one. Guns N' Roses are pretty bad, but even AC/DC and stuff like that can be bad. I've been blocked for an AC/DC one that was just part of the song Thunderstruck was just part of a top 5 video that I made.
Right.
And I uploaded that, didn't even release it. It automatically got blocked, and I got one of the big 3 like copyright strikes, which if you get 3 of them, you're locked out your channel basically.
Right.
Irony is I already had a Thunderstruck tutorial on my channel and it's not been blocked. And I've still left it on. It's never been blocked.
Do you feel like they must have some sort of system that's looking for these sort of videos? Because it's not somebody. Do you think it's not actually somebody?
Look, these days with the amount of scammers around, some of them are actually just scams.
Right.
Just people trying it on.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that can happen? They get told no. The best that can happen is they get shared revenue, and that's the fact. But also, it's just there's certain artists that are very guarding of their back catalogue and where it's used. I think it's going to get easier. The more people actually sell their back catalogues, like Bob Dylan sold his for like 300 million and stuff, and everyone has over the past sort of 4 years, all the bigger artists, Bruce Springsteen, Fleetwood Mac, it's actually getting easier because they're moving it up to people who can enable it to not get blocked. They're not going to block it because they know the benefits of, like, we all remember when the guy skateboarding on the TikTok video, which had Fleetwood Mac on it, and suddenly, that song did really well on Spotify and that album sold. Like, that's the benefit. Why would you block a video when we're literally singing the praises and wanting people to learn your song?
To me and you, it doesn't make any sense. It's like Running Up the Hill from like Stranger Things. That became
Exactly.
a massive hit from that program.
Metallica as well,
yeah.
Master of Puppets. That's when it's done well. Irony with Metallica taking advantage of that, right? Seeing as how Lars Ulrich was one of the big, like, naysayers of any Napster stuff back in 2000 or whenever it was. But they've learned the benefits of it. Which speaks to, like, the way the music industry is, where we all thought the internet would even out the playing field for everyone, whereas actually it just means that an even more select few artists take all the revenue, and then the curve just goes straight down to any, like, independent artists. I was actually discussing the other day, I wonder at what level a band has to be at now to not have another revenue stream, to not have to do a Patreon or something like that.
Yes,
and
point.
I'll tell you now, it's big. It's arenas. It's like low level arena stuff, basically.
Yes.
Because we're just fans of too many bands that we know actually have side jobs.
That's a really good point. Actually, nowadays there's not many bands that I can think of, apart from the big ones, as you said about, that they have to have some sort of Patreon or some sort of account that, a revenue source that supplements their touring or whatever it may be. That's a really good point.
They've always got something, and if they're lucky, it's a Patreon or something like that. If they're not, it is literally either working some sort of 9 to 5 and they actually tour in their holiday time. Like people that play O2 Academy, that's the case.
Yes. Yeah.
Those type of venues, but it's it's brutal. But it is for every level. And as I say, I got very lucky that quite early on in my like post-university years, I had a YouTube hit that just meant, do that. And it has enabled me to take risks like hiring editors and stuff.
Yes.
And to take risks to not have to do as much like one-to-one teaching, to do more content creation.
Yeah.
And
now
I'm like,
one video, Andy, like you said, there was that one video that sort of for you rocketed after that. Like that was or was that just the deciding video for you that you're going to give it a go, or was it like, this is going really well, I need to latch onto this?
I'll tell you exactly what happened, because it was kind of, because there'll be a lot of people that might want to do something similar themselves. Watch this.
Yeah.
The difference of, it was actually in 2012 I started releasing more videos than I had before, to kind of, again, just try and get fully booked with one-to-one lessons. But I filmed one which was a similar idea to the one that ended up going big, and it was a student pointed out to me that it had 50,000 views back in 2012.
Okay.
Because I wasn't paying attention to it. And that's when I went, oh wow, okay, that's too much to ignore. That's a lot. And that was when I put more strategy in place, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to upload regular now. It's not just going to be ad hoc, or when I have a break, I'm actually going to do it properly, for want of a better term. And that even saw me through periods when there was a period in, so November 2013, for about 18 months, I had an RSI injury in my chord playing hand, which meant that I couldn't play or teach guitar like at all.
Jesus.
Like I just couldn't touch the thing, and even couldn't drive for a good 2 months because I couldn't use a gear stick. Just too painful, and I wanted it to heal, so I didn't do it. Couldn't squeeze a thing of toothpaste. Like this hand just was out of the game. Fortunately, I could still teach one-to-one because I developed the relationship as such where I could just instruct people what to do, and I had the learning materials, had ebooks by then. So, didn't have anyone that didn't have one person even stop wanting lessons because I couldn't play.
No.
In fact, I think I may be a better teacher, because it's all about your communication. You can't just jam along with them and keep the vibe up. You actually have to just communicate it.
Yeah.
but also there was a bit of ad revenue in coming back then from that video of the one that's still my biggest video now, and that funded like going to see chiropractors and getting like hand rehab basically.
Wow.
So yeah, I really see it as, and one thing I couldn't do then is couldn't gig, or when I did gig, I was just a singer, which I really hated. I like the barrier of guitar, man with guitar is fine. Man being a singer, I was literally in a wedding band at the time, so I really felt like Adam Sandler wedding singer, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It was an interesting challenge. I enjoyed the challenge a little bit of it, but I was like, this is not me at all. And yeah, I feel like YouTube really saved me and looked after me in that regard, because it was actually bringing in predictable, regular income. But it literally, I was like, okay, my hands need to be good, because I want to make good on this opportunity. Basically, I'm like, literally, I'd been just getting started for 6 months, and then I can't even play, never mind do more videos. Now, one thing that's always played into my hands is, as soon as I got back filming, I could do one thing, how to play 10 songs with one finger. Again, easy chord stuff. I was like, God, at least I'm not like, I'm actually grateful I didn't get big from anything that was high level.
Yes.
Because otherwise it would have been like, it would have been 5 years till I could really play like I could before, even just to get up to the same level I was before, not even get better.
Is that still an issue for you now, Andy? Is that still a worry or an issue or not?
It is always something you have to be mindful of. As anyone knows, so I was 27 when that injury happened, and I didn't know many people that had sort of an injury. That I didn't know anyone of my age that had something where they had to be aware of, or that really affected their life and stuff.
Yeah.
As soon as I turned 30, I didn't really know anyone that hadn't had something. Back pain, or they broke their arm, or there's you just through life experience, you end up, as soon as you're in the 30s, most people have had to deal with something.
Yes.
That they have to be mindful of going forward, even if it is, don't do mega dangerous stuff without taking precautions,
Yeah.
Whereas in your 20s, you do feel, I don't think I've ever felt invincible, to be honest, but you certainly have. You can put some of that to one side and be a bit more gun-ho about stuff.
No, so it's not causing you any issues going forward now at the moment.
I can play, but as I say, it's mainly with things like exercise and stuff like that. I have to be careful. The actual playing guitar, there's nothing that stops me doing at all.
Okay.
But with any kind of nerve stuff, we've got to be careful that it's just got to keep blood flow and things like when my shoulders get tight, I don't practice guitar too much.
Okay.
Because I know that could set off, not feeling good. But it hasn't actually been an issue now for like 6 years.
Okay. And you mentioned that there, exercise. I mean, what do you do, Andy, for exercise? What do you do on sort of a weekly basis? What do you do?
Well, you're sort of big into your fitness, aren't you? Because I listened to your podcast with Ross Campbell, mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
And he's like the even next level, isn't he? He like measures, he weighs his food, and he's got a PT to make. He could be a PT, but he's got a PT to make him like super high level.
Yeah.
But fitness is something that I've had a good and then bad relationship with, because I now see it like medicine. It actually makes me feel better because I work from home, and you just need to physically kind of be active. Otherwise, I don't really have an excuse to leave the house a lot of days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you sort of de-stress if you find things are getting a bit sort of stuck in
exercise is great for it. It's the best, and unfortunately, sports is probably even better, but I just don't have the opportunity to play many sports at the minute. Looking at ways to do that, but yeah, I was a member of a football team for a little while, for example, but even that, like, I was like, this is risking an injury for sure. Exactly. Not because of the football was a particular risk, just because I was a bit out of my depth. I was always the worst player on the team, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do something silly here.
Yes.
But yeah, it has been an issue where I've been like, I was doing a lot of fitness before my injury back in 2013, and it's like, oh, so don't get yourself back in that point again. So yeah, I'm with a PT now, but I basically do it to feel better, 100%.
Yeah. That's good. It's a good thing to. I think everybody should, if possible, everyone should do something like some sort of fitness. And you got to find your thing, though, haven't you? I think you got to find something that you enjoy and that you do want to get up and go and do. There's no point of doing like gym workouts or whatever it is or running if you hate it. There's no point. Like people say, oh, they've heard that running's good, so I'm doing running. It's like, well, if you don't enjoy it and you hate it, then don't do it. Like
It's the same with guitar, right? That
yeah,
people go, oh, that'd be a cool thing to do. And that's why I started as well. But there's a difference between doing that because you think it's something, it's a life skill that you want to have, and then it becoming part of your life where you can't envisage your life without it, which is how we are with music and guitar, right?
yes, yeah,
And I've been to and fro with that with exercise because sometimes it just as soon as you stop for any length of time, getting back into the routine is like a real drag, and you forget how good you can feel from going afterwards, right?
yeah. It is that buzz, and I suppose it's a bit like a practice session or doing a gig or something. It's the buzz, and I'm sure you still get it, and I still get it now. You go and do a really good gig, and it's that sort of buzz straight after the gig, even for like coming
Well,
home.
the
or the
gigging
day
thing's
after.
interesting because I haven't really gigged since I've been down in Brighton either. So that's been about 5 years. And again, it's intentional because it's a pretty intense Monday to Friday um, for creating the content that I do and pushing stuff out. And there's a lot of guitaring, put it that way.
Yeah.
So doing guitaring also on a Saturday night and missing out on social stuff because of that, I'm like, I don't think I need that.
No. I
But
did see
what
a
I
video of you doing some stuff recently, though. Is that right? You were doing something recently?
So that we actually have a band on staff now. So my video editor plays guitar and bass and sings a bit,
Okay.
and a web developer is a drummer.
Oh, nice.
So the last time I went up, they're all in Leeds still. So yeah, the last time I went up, I'm like, we have to have a band rehearsal, and we'll gig at some point, but there's nothing in the diary yet. But I'm like, let's at least rehearse.
That's
But
an
I'm actually
organic way
very
of putting.
keen, really keen for any live stuff to be based around another singer,
Yes.
because I well aware of my limitations, and it just limits what we can do in the set.
Yeah.
And it pushes us a certain direction. I'm like, "Oh, I've done that direction so much that it would be really nice to try something new and literally base it around someone else."
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
it's
really organic
as
way for you to get a band together, I suppose, that you just said.
it is, well, okay, it's just an opportunity, but I would love for someone else to sing it that was amazingly better than me and also available.
If
and
anyone's listening.
and those two things, you wouldn't believe how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because if they're good, they're doing it. They're busy. They're in a band. They're doing it. And if they're not, but as I am, I can sing.
Yeah.
I can do the role. I've been paid to sing many times in my life in the band and entertainment stuff, but it's not like my forte.
No.
I can do the job. If that's the case, they're a bit too similar to me, and it's like, well, I can do that same role. It's and it just inhibits the freedom rather than making something more than the sum of its parts. I think that's what I'm looking for.
What would you say then, Andy? Your sort of think your forte is then? Is it bluesy sort of rock stuff that you sing when you're singing?
Not as much blues. I just don't have a voice for the blues stuff.
Okay.
It's not at all gravelly. It's a very basic pop singer voice I've got, really. So it always, the stuff in the wedding band was from the Beatles to the Killers, basically.
Yeah.
And anything more, as soon as you mention Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, or even Fleetwood Mac or something like that, it's actually a very, very high, like Guns N' Roses stuff as well, very high, very like on the edge, like there's a crack to the voice.
Yes.
And I can't do any of that for more than like one song. And it has been something I've actively tried to go to, because that's like the music that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me here, man, I'm a rocker. But it's just not something that the voice can do. And it's actually kind of a fun thing I've heard many people say about the guitar. If you want to learn guitar and sound like Slash,
Yes.
buy a Les Paul and plug into a Marshall, and you can at least play one chord, blam, and get one,
Yeah.
You can do the Start a Night Train or something, and even just one chord sounds like him. With a vocal, you can't, it's anatomy.
Yes.
You are tied somewhat. You've got to work with that rather than against it. But but it's the music's got to excite you as well. So making that crossover, it's why I haven't done any original stuff in ages and ages, because I'm like, the stuff I want to do, I can't sing it, so therefore I'm just going to let that slide. Really, the stuff that I would come up with naturally doesn't excite me as much as literally other creative endeavors.
It's something in the future maybe that you might get into. Maybe, I don't know.
I've done it. I've released an album and stuff, so I feel like I put out there what I would. But again, it's quite pop.
Mhm.
It's a little bit eclectic, and it's nothing that I would go, let's get a band together and do that.
Okay.
Because it's just not. There's a load of production in it. There's some electronic influences, and I'm just like, this doesn't line up to putting something together for a band.
Yeah.
But again, there's literally other things I'd rather be doing. Like when I feel absolutely in my element is with live stuff, is usually at the end of guitar breaks. What we do, sort of similar to your band program. So I've seen you
Yeah.
you do some live band workshops.
That's right. Yeah.
Where you get people on stage who've never been on stage before, and they're scared to death.
Mhm.
They can just about play the song, but they need encouragement. And I'm just able to get them to do it because they trust me, and we've created an environment where they know it's going to be. They can actually try.
Yes.
No one's going to point and laugh, because literally everyone else in the audience that's watching
Yeah.
is going to be on stage imminently or has been already.
Yes.
So they know exactly what it feels like, and it's just the most welcoming environment.
Yeah, I get more enjoyment. I'm sure you do as well. But for me, I get more enjoyment, I think, than the students get from those experiences, because I'm sat back thinking, "Wow, this is amazing!" Like to see these guys up doing that from like, and I know they're scared. Everybody is. You can see it visually. They're shaking, their legs shaking, their hands shaking, something shaking. Like you can see they're
Yeah, yeah.
nervous and scared. But you think, oh, I've facilitated this, or like I'm enjoying it more than they are. I think sometimes at these groups.
Well, because the emphasis isn't on you. That's a good thing about any again, for anyone watching to know that wants to start playing live, try and do it with other people, because the burden is shared. But also when when there's other people coming on stage, even if they're not singing, even if they're just playing, we are doing that song, or we're up there because for them.
Yes.
So the pressure is actually, I always feel like when I do that, the pressure's totally off me. The pressure's not on me to even get the best out of it, because there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like we've actually had it before where, someone will stop halfway through.
Yeah.
But again, I'd stop. Sorry, I didn't know where we were. And again, there's no, oh my God, we're going to look bad. It's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
We did it in rehearsal.
Yeah.
You can do this. Let's just go again.
Yeah.
And that's when I know that it's moments like that where I'm in the right job. This is what I should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've got the ability as well, like, to make people feel at ease. That's the really important thing. Like people feel at ease with you. They don't feel so bad. Everybody feels bad at the clubs and stuff that I go to. If they make a mistake or something, they'll go, "Oh, I'm so sorry," but they know that it's okay. Like, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like, you made them feel at ease. It happens.
They just wanted to be able to do it better, but
yes, of course.
they don't. There's no huge letting people down. They're just like, oh, kind of wish I'd have done that better. But it's getting people used to like red light fever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trust me, I know all about that from the YouTube videos. Like if you ever recorded yourself, you know about red light fever, where you suddenly can't play something.
Yes.
But as soon as the camera's on as well, and especially if I'm going for something that like we do quite a few videos on people like Mark Knopfler, some of the guitar greats, but it's actually all about the phrasing. The line that we're learning is really simple. It's just like a bend or something, and maybe you're playing it with your thumb. But to make that actually sound like Mark Knopfler, I'm like, okay, I need a few goes of that. Because people judge you on the first thing that they see, and they're like, that doesn't sound like Mark Knopfler. Or I know from watching it, I'm like, you want to communicate it to people, you want to say, this is what we're trying to get from this. And I'm like, okay, I need to get that right.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing, but playing live, as soon as you do anything, the moment's literally gone, and it's all about how you recover. Again and again, just next thing.
Yeah.
Like I even saw the Rolling Stones live, and I can't forget what song it was, but it just totally fell apart. And literally they all had to gather together Keith Richards puts his hand in the air and then lowers it just to tell people where beat one was. Tell the rest of them, because they were all walking on this huge stage and they'd all totally lost it. And that's when you realize, Keith Richards is absolutely the leader of that band.
Yes.
Because they all just had to watch him.
Yeah,
that's cool. Who they look to.
I mean, that's that's a really important thing to say as well. That you and me and everybody, that we all make mistakes. We all do.
Yeah.
I've done it live all the time. Like you go into a solo and you go, damn, I was slightly off there with where I was or whatever.
Well, you don't even have the time to react to go, oh damn, I hit a bum note. You don't, because it's millisecond. Because you have to. The only important thing is get the next note right.
Yes.
And half the audience didn't even notice. Tell you a fascinating one. Which is probably the most uncool thing I could say, totally. But I actually saw a live recording of a TV show at Brighton Dub, so a big O2 Academy side music venue.
Yeah.
And everyone on stage, it was filmed. It was Eurovision, basically. It was filmed for the Eurovision, like choosing who was going to be the UK entrant. And the people that sounded good in the room were very different to the people that sounded good on telly, and for very different reasons.
Oh, wow.
And it's when I viewed the talent shows very differently. The Voice and stuff, which is actually still going, and one of the actual ones that's trying to find anyone with any talent, I would say, or even pretending to. The people that pop on telly are very different to what pops on and you think, why did they press the button for that? What did they hear that I didn't? Yeah. If you were in the room, it just hits differently. And it's like with the band stuff, I've filmed a lot of stuff for a band thing, for people to basically rehearse playing with a drummer, but it was with my drummer, and then they learn the parts, and then it was literally to enable people or students to put together their own bands, but the drummer could learn the drum parts from our lesson, the bass player could learn all the parts. But it didn't do amazing. People who like it love it.
Yes.
But it didn't hit a wide audience because you just can't transfer. It's like live stream gigs over the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hit the same. There's no replacement for actually in-person gigs.
No, I think you're right. The live stream ones didn't work for me because I don't know. It depends what the person. It's not necessarily you. You can spend thousands on the equipment you're using to put it out, but if somebody's watching this on a Nokia 3310, the experience they're not going to get like in a live concert arena, are they? It's not going to be the same sort of thing. And I think you're right. It didn't really hit home for some of the ones that I watched. I was like, it's okay, but it's not as good as watching it live, as you said, in person. So.
I agree, man. What's your thing then? What do you have an approach to like the songs you enjoy, or is there some sort of approach to teaching?
Yeah, so the songs that I enjoy mine's a blues rock sort of environment. Really, that's where I'm at and what I enjoy doing. I don't tend to sing. I did recently at a concert that we did, just because singing for me is not something I'm really confident at doing. It's not something I do, and it's something I don't really enjoy doing, so I tend not to do it. Even though I can hold a tune, you can sing in tune, but I only did it recently because I thought, how am I going to put myself in these guys' shoes? I play guitar every weekend in a wedding band, like you said about earlier in that. And I just thought, how can I put myself in their shoes and feel as nervous as they do about this? And I thought, I'll sing. That's the way I can do it, because I was nervous about it and I don't like doing it. So that's what I ended up doing, just to sort of put myself in their thing. But yeah, my thing is blues and rock. I teach a couple of clubs. I just launched a new one, like a complete beginners one. And I teach an intermediate and advanced club that happens every month. And then I teach, obviously, privately, sort of the one-to-one stuff. I really do love doing that. I do enjoy doing the one-to-one teaching. And I'm not sure, are you slightly older than me, Andy? I'm not sure. I'm 33.
I'm 36.
36.
Born in 86.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still private teaching, and I do enjoy it. And I don't know, the YouTube thing I've not really got into massively. I've got a channel and I've done a few videos and things. And
is this live streaming on Facebook? Can I see?
It is, yes. Yeah, it is going on Facebook. But yeah, and if anyone does, I always get into this as well. If anyone has any questions for Andy, then please do, drop them in the comments there. And I'm sure if they have
do we know how many people are watching live?
At the moment, there's only 3 or 4, I think. But cool. I know that people watch this back. So,
well, the 3 or 4 people that are watching live, please ask a question, because when we're doing this sort of stuff live, that is the reason it is live. It is for interaction. And I know this from I do loads of live shows. I do a live stream every Monday.
Yeah.
I live streamed on YouTube for like a year and a half. So every Tuesday, I think that was.
Yeah.
but there ended up just being such a mass of comments there that it became ridiculous to do it live, because I couldn't answer there wasn't the sort of highlight of the comments down the super chats and stuff.
Yes.
So I'm looking to get back into it. But the whole reason to do this live is so that you guys can comment
involved.
and we
Yeah,
can
of
go.
course.
And it's just something you can't get from a regular video. So please do.
Yeah.
But it's cool to hear that you felt the need to put yourself in that situation as like an example of, hey, this isn't my thing. I'm not the greatest singer, probably even in this room, but I can put myself in this situation and do well by it.
Yeah.
So that you guys can, because you guys know you're learner guitar players wanting to do this for fun for yourselves. Here's an example. Here's how I can show you it's a safe place, right?
Yeah, and that's what
Exactly,
I feel like it sort of
Good
came
man.
across like that. So yeah, it did work well. I got a couple of questions about we said about comments and that then on your live streams, and also I was thinking about on your YouTube and things. I spoke to Ross about this last time. It's really interesting finding out how you obviously get lots of really fantastic comments from your videos, and majority of it I imagine is positive feedback. How do you deal with, Andy? Like, do you just ignore it nowadays, or when you get a few like negative comments and things like that which always happens on social media, do you ignore it? How do you deal with it? Like, how do you get over that? Do you ignore the comments or?
Super easy. What you do is you just turn the lights off in the room, crawl under your desk, and cry about it. Any hateful comments I get are typically there are plenty of. I mean, there's literally the odd just people just call me a swear word out of, and I've actually blocked most of that. You can block certain words, and I've actually blocked some of those because I literally just want it to be child friendly. I want it to be a safe space.
Yeah.
So I have blocked words which are like swear words so that no one else sees them, but I still see them.
Yeah.
And those ones, you just have to go, wow, that says way more about the person writing the comment than it does me.
Yeah.
So that's the first headspace to be in for it.
Yeah.
But then the ones where they go, oh, that one kind of hurts, but also fair point, is when I've taught something where it's maybe a bit out of my comfort zone, and I maybe either missed something that someone else would have picked up, or there's probably literally something wrong with the video. You know, didn't do it. Wasn't one of my best, and it gets commented, and I have to go, fair enough. But also, there was one video that happened on, which I think is the top 5 mistakes video.
Okay.
And it was a video that by the time someone commented that had literally been shared by Guitar World. It had been on the front page of YouTube for a while because it was trending for a little while.
Right.
And I was like, look, I stand by your comment. I actually think you're right, but there's nothing I can do. I can't edit the video now. It's up. It's getting views. I'm just going to take the hit. Like, the thing that is actually finite and the thing we're all fighting for is attention. And actually, that's the problem with the internet these days too. That problem. Get on my high horse now. But the problem is the algorithm or any social media cannot tell the difference between positive comments and negative comments.
Yeah.
So if you actually have a ton of people just slagging you off in the comments, it's going to make your video do better. So what does that push you to do? It pushes you to do, or a lot of people to go for controversial topics.
Yes.
Which is people to make outlandish statements that they know a bunch of people are just going to absolutely hate, and another bunch of people are going to polarize and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And trust me, man, I hate it so much that I'm like, I just try and check out of that as much as possible. And it does make my content blander. It genuinely does, but I don't want anything that's the entire opposite of what, like, I won't say any names, but other content creators, that's the opposite mentality to them. A lot of content creators have they make great videos. They're brilliant people, but they actually make stuff that's purposely controversial so that it will just get a bunch of comments and it'll do better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want my space to be just not unrelenting positivity, because that's ridiculous, but I don't want it to be polarizing, because that's just dead against, like, I'm not a polarizing character in real life.
No.
So I'm not going to pretend to be that just to make the videos do better. And it actually makes it a safe space where I think people can go, we can learn from this guy as learner guitar players. And that's when a lot of the harder comments just become water off a duck's back.
Yeah, that sounds like you got a really healthy relationship with that as well, like dealing with it. So, and you don't bite.
Yeah, the
your tongue
comments
with it.
aren't the hurtful thing, but it does. There's even a video I filmed recently, which hey man, I'll tell you about it. I don't mind. So there was a Lindsey Buckingham video that I filmed recently,
Right.
and I'm actually think I'm not gonna put it on YouTube.
Right. Okay.
Think I'm just gonna put it for as a premium member video, so just to like my inner circle, as it were.
Yeah.
They have a membership on my website, and it'll just be a one-off video for them. But the reason is, it just wasn't the purpose of the video, so I didn't cover it. But Lindsey Buckingham doesn't really use a pick. He just uses fingerstyle, but it kind of sounds like he's using a pick. He uses his nails a lot.
Okay.
And there was something that I could have digged in, or at least referenced them. And I just didn't, because I'm like, most people play electric guitar with a pick.
Yeah.
So I just didn't talk about it. I'm like, it's not the purpose of the video. But I even I shared a reel of it, and literally I had some comment. I had 2 comments that were like, sacrilege playing any Lindsey Buckingham with a pick. And I'm like, so probably that, as it stands, I don't want to put it out.
Okay.
Or I want to put it out, but with a caveat. But instantly I'm like, that's one where I am actually giving in to what people would say in the comments, because they do have a point.
Yeah.
And because I'm like, I should have acknowledged that when I filmed the video.
Yeah. Acknowledge it, fair enough. But, you know, we probably all play that with a pick. That's quite normal.
Sadly, honestly, it's just, but I do want to acknowledge it somehow, that is not just pandering to. I'm actually trying to figure out a way to do it without just pandering to
Yes.
haters, as it were. But it's not haters; they actually bring up a valid point.
Yeah.
And I should have referenced. You do have to think about that stuff when something's going to be seen by a lot of people.
I think,
because I'm also aware that is something that I would like to talk. It wasn't the purpose of that video, but if I make a Lindsey Buckingham video, I don't make a lot of videos like that where I'm looking at quite a high level. They're easy solos, but against high level technique to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I don't get a lot of shots at doing that, because my stuff is beginner stuff, even if it's late beginners to intermediate stuff.
Yes.
It's not the fine details of stuff.
I think release it to your premium members, like you were saying, because they're going to be a group of people that support you.
That's exactly, because that's who it's for. That's who literally I had in mind for it.
Yeah.
And then you will get a load of genuine fans. I'd be like playing Sultans of Swing or any Martin Knopfler stuff with a pick.
Yes.
You know, you put that on YouTube, people go, he doesn't use a pick, mate. You're playing it wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll go like, yeah, but most people who are learning this are going to use a pick,
Yeah.
because they can't play electric guitar without a pick. They've never done it.
Yeah.
You know, like regular players, like most people, like the majority of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fascinating one. But yeah, I do. We've edited it now, so I watched it back, and I'm like, I don't think I can release this to YouTube for that reason. But it needs to be seen by the premium people, and I think I will at some point just do a separate video on that on YouTube, as and when schedules allow. But I'm like, it won't get views because it's not my thing.
Just release it and then don't look at it for like a few weeks. Don't look at any comments.
Well, you can't, because the comments, when you check in the comments, they all come up in one point. So if I was checking anything, you'd see comments come in. But again, it would if I put it up as is, it will probably do better because it gets a lot of negative comments.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But I also I wouldn't want to put it up without referencing it, because it is a good point. And that is where all this becomes overthinking central. It's probably the reason why you haven't started a YouTube or started doing it properly, right? So it's not practically like you couldn't possibly keep up with editing you could film it in a way that it's easy to edit and put it up.
Yes.
But it just breeds overthinking.
Yeah.
And the only way around it is just to do. Get organized, get the schedule, and just do, rather than overthinking it.
Yeah.
But the only way I can get into that mindset is just thinking about like one person who I've taught in the past, or like a small group of people like we have at Guitar Breaks.
Yeah.
What would I do for them? Because I can't even, if a video gets 10,000 views, which would be, I'd consider that to be bad for like where I'm at with YouTube.
Yes.
And if it gets seen by 10, even if I'm thinking of 10,000 people watch, it's actually maddening. It's like, how can you possibly release anything that you think 10,000 people are going to like. Like, it will never happen. It's literally unrealistic.
Well, one of your videos you said that had, was it 20 million? Was it you said? Your first video?
My most watched video is 28 million.
28 million. Imagine having 28 million people all in a stadium somewhere. Like that's incredible if you think of it that way. Like,
yeah, can I tell you the way that I do think about it? 28 million people have seen my dirty Union Jack rug.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the one it is. I'm like, you couldn't have hoovered. But again, I had no idea if 28 million people were going to see it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, you can't think like that. I mean, if I'd have known that, I'd have never finished the video.
No.
Noel Gallagher said the same thing about, I think it was Don't Look Back in Anger.
Right.
That he wrote after a gig and after having a few drinks with friends, and he had kind of still gig energy. So he was in a hotel room and he just rattled off Don't Look Back in Anger in about 45 minutes. Yeah. And he said in interviews that if he'd have had any idea what that song would do or what it would mean to people, he would have never finished it.
No.
Because he'd have gone, okay, next day, okay, these lyrics need to be, okay, it needs to be a bit more this, bit more of that.
Yes.
And it would just never get finished. And you can feel that with, for example, Oasis's songs as soon as you get into the 2000s.
Yes.
And he wrote so many in the mid-90s and early 90s in such a short period of time because he literally didn't care. He was just filming or making songs so that his band had something to play at the Boardwalk on a Tuesday night in Manchester.
Yeah.
So, for 10 people, just for something to play. Yeah. So of course he wanted to rip off T-Rex and what else,
It's a good thing you're saying there. Like, it's a really good message to anyone watching this who's looking at starting a YouTube channel or anything like that, or just starting anything. It doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. Just maybe they want to, I don't know, leave their 9-to-5 job and jump into something self-employed, whatever it is. Just do it. Like what you're saying is just do it.
Just do it. And actually, I think there was definitely a feeling with me that when I first started doing this pretty much full time. Mm-hmm. That I've got struggles with certain things, but as soon as I've got a bigger channel, none of this will matter. It'll be easier. I'll be one of those guys that just has it down. And I can see now from the other side, from the outside, it looks like you've got everything down.
Yes.
But how it feels when you're making it is exactly the same as when you were first starting.
Yeah.
The exact same insecurities, the exact same things. You do well, the exact same. Okay, put that down. Just do it. The things you have to get over are always the same. And it's like with being a live musician, isn't it? You only feel as good as your last gig was.
Yeah.
And it's the struggle of all of it. It's just that it's a performing, but it's literally performing. And even if you have an office job, and you have to then meet people in your office job or do presentations, there's a performance aspect to absolutely everything. Yes. Loads of crossover skills. And if you can actually work on those transferable skills, it doesn't all. It's always the same challenges, big or small. Actually, that's what I've learned.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, Andy, I said I'm going to let you go because I'm also considering.
Sure, man.
You're on a holiday in Barcelona, like enjoying, some time with your family.
Indeed, but I'm happy to do it, man. It's been lovely talking to you.
No, it's been great. I said I've never actually met you in person, but if I do see you around, I will come up and say hello. But yeah, I do appreciate you taking the time today to sort of to sit down with me and to go through.
Can I ask just quickly, do you attend any kind of UK guitar events?
I don't know. I haven't, in the past. But it's something that you said about NAMM as well. Like earlier, we were talking about NAMM. That's something I really do want to go to. It's something I want to, tick off the list of things.
Well, actually, I definitely recommend going. Yes. But the bizarre thing is so many people that I meet there and enjoy hanging out with live between Brighton, Bristol and London.
Okay. Yeah.
But there is no UK thing where we will all kind of hang out or have an excuse to kind of meet up. There's somewhere a few people might go to, but even the UK ones that anyone does hang out at, they're just not set up to kind of get actual content creators together.
No.
So I feel like we're crying out for one of those, and that's something I'm not wanting to take all the burden of setting up myself, but that's something I would love to make happen.
Yeah, let me know if that ever does come to anything. I'd love to sort of get involved in that. But I did get invited a while back. I think it was Adrian Thorpe, who's Thorpe Effects, was going to a race course somewhere because I like cars as well.
The racecourse ones are pretty good. They're oh God, what are they called? The guitar shows they're called, like the Northern Guitar Show, and then there's the London Guitar Show. But
Yes.
again, they're not great. They're great for the kind of big guitar markets or guitar shops,
Okay.
but they're not great for actually getting together and getting contact. You know, I think what they need is kind of a panels aspect to them, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Like, do have this thing, but with people in the audience. Like, that's what it needs.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Well, look, I'll keep my ear to the ground if that comes to anything. That'd be really cool. But Andy, as I said,
Indeed, man. I'll try.
I'll let you get on with your holiday and enjoy time with your family. Have you managed to play your guitar just very quickly before we go? Have you managed to play your guitar while you've been there? I know you said you did a live stream.
Yeah, live stream last night, and I've been trying to get a couple of fingerstyle songs that I'm wanting to learn. The more of the Fleetwood Mac stuff. I'm in a big Fleetwood Mac wormhole at the moment, and that's how I make progress with stuff, like studying an artist for like a month or two.
Yeah.
My brain really works that way. I get obsessed by certain songs.
Yeah.
And then you either acquire the skill and make some progress, or you just put it down and move on to getting obsessed by something else for a couple of months.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way of doing that, and that's a few things I've done with my students who've done like an artist thing and said, right, I'm going to stick with the Chili Peppers, John Frusciante for I want to do a month, and we'll do a few songs, and we'll really look at their techniques, their sound, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's a really good thing to dig in a bit deeper, isn't it?
A few songs by the same artist, and you start to join the dots of what really makes them, rather than always having to keep hot on like open chords for this guy, pentatonic scales for this guy, more major stuff for this guy. Actually just get in depth in at least one style. If you want to make progress in any one area, you've got to focus in.
Yeah.
But at our level especially, it's really fun to see what the range of what one player will do that's still them.
Yes.
And Lindsey Buckingham's that style, because it is everything from kind of sweet fingerstyle stuff to blues stuff, but actually using the same, again, non-pick technique, I guess.
Yeah. Fantastic advice. I said, Andy, enjoy your holiday.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully get to see you soon anyway, but you take care.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Take care. Thank you, Andy. Cheers.